that come out of the Control Warrior. However, leave it up to Eddie to be a person that might figure that out, TJ. You know, he's a player that can whip out things from seemingly nowhere to be able to get that win. So I'll trust him to figure it out. Let's go into game number 1. Priest versus the Warrior. All right, so the opening hands doesn't really seem like it is that good for either player. I do wonder how valuable Outrider's Axe is for the Warrior in this matchup. Drawing cards is valuable. It's not like who can out-fatigue, but if you can get to that Cthulhu a little bit quicker than your opponent.
Yeah, I think Eddie is benefited from accelerating the state of the game because it means that he has to get through less minions from Luna. I say fatigue is a win condition, but it's mostly like him fatiguing. Right? It's mostly him getting to the bottom of his deck to try and, you know, navigate around Cthulhu. And Cthulhu's not like automatic, right? It's not Mech Cthulhu where you just win the game if you're able to get that combo off. You still have to find a way to let 30 points of damage go to your opponent's face.
Yeah, it's true. It's not like you automatically win that spot either, as you said. So, you know, for now, we shall see if this is a good start here for Eddie, if he's able to find something good. Finds Overlord Rumthok as a possibility. That's the best quality minion? Yeah.
What makes me run many minions?
What now?
I guess he does run some minions, but none of them are really benefited by
blessings to you.
Like being buffed. The armor benders being 2/4s, venomous scorpions being 2/4s. Is that really that big of a deal? These are much better than rush minions. Dragon Ball Skystalker, probably the most premium option here. Just very difficult to remove in full.
Agreed.
You don't pick the wands.
Wand Maker coming down to the board. Flash, heal. Okay, so all these early game stuff from Luna is okay. Time is on her side. Ooh.
Eddie plays double Corsair Cash.
Yeah.
So that's why this is a terrible draw. Also, the extra durability on Bulwark of Azzinoth can potentially be a ton of damage that it blocks, right? So not only did he make cards in his deck dead, he also doesn't get the extra benefit of having the extra durability on Bulwark of Azzinoth. I think Psyche Split is the answer here. You just want as much just raw power as you can get in this matchup. Try and force out all the removal.
Yeah, right now, based off the way it looks, is that there's going to be too many threats for Eddie to handle with his removal. We shall see. Magtheridon is interesting. I mean, it gives opportunities for the Outrider's Axe to get value as well, but for now we're going to draw a card.
Now, awkwardly enough, you have to like kind of squeeze more value out of Magtheridon, right? Not just like play it as like this board removal and get value out of it right away, but play it on the board and let the board tension kind of build up and then blow it up when you feel like it's the right time. It's kind of a weird situation. There's also another dynamic that can happen sometimes in this matchup with Mindrender Lucia. If Luna is able to dump a Cthulhu piece at any point from Eddie, it's essentially game over. Because Eddie just has a deck full of removal, and that's essentially his only win condition, considering he doesn't play like Ysera in the list, or one of those late game dragons that we sometimes see in Control Warrior.
I think I totally hear what you're saying, and I think my first instinct agree with you. I thought about it a little bit more, and I kind of wondered if the way to win Eddie from Eddie's side is to go for Magtheridon Aggression. Because then he has fewer options to answer a giant minion that could potentially set him up to win. It's hard because there isn't good follow-up beyond that. It's like, well, you can set up Magtheridon, but do you have anything that can deal damage? I guess you do. You have weapons. Like, Outrider's Axe could technically get 9 damage to the face, the second one at least. So I'm thinking about it from Eddie's perspective. I'm thinking about it from Eddie's perspective. You know, is it a time where you potentially just set up Magtheridon, or is it like you're just giving away too much of a valuable resource in the late game? That's the first thing on my mind. The second is whether or not Eddie instead wants to try and use like Overlord Runthok to go for overwhelming stats. The 3/6 can charge into this, or rather can rush into the 5/6, and the Outrider's Axe can draw, and then you start building up a board systematically that gains value over time. I'll have two minds about it.
It's kind of a rough situation. Also has to be worried about life total to an extent.
Oh yeah,
right, there it on it is.
Eddie sees
to draw a card from one of the 1/3s too, and he gets to clear the board essentially when he wants.
Okay.
I don't think there's any way for Luna to stop this.
What I like about this play in particular is I like the hold. It makes sense because he has Blade Storm. I also like the fact that, you know, Luna, now that she's drawn Raised Dead, that's a card that's going to be more of a liability moving forward because of those minions dying. I would love nothing more than if we hype up the fact that this is going to be a slow matchup and all of a sudden Eddie finds a way to be aggressive and just wins with a 12-12. Well, what do you even do? Do you Psyche Split and copy? Like, what you're afraid clearly of what your opponent could be doing.
Yeah.
That's a big boy.
Yep. It's still pressure even if Eddie decides to break this Magtheridon out of its prison and explode the board, which doesn't really have a choice to go for it. We'll still leave the 2/3 force though, and that's what Luna was really going for. It's not like she even used many resources from her deck to get there, right? It was a discovered Psyche Split and a discovered Dragon.
And yet, no way to kill it from what I see at the moment. There's Hysteria. But from Luna's perspective, what do you do with this Magtheridon? Nothing at the moment. What about the Mage Scribe? Mage Scribe.
And
Desperate Pair, the DP?
I guess.
I'm trying to think. I think it seems like the
there's
weakest
not
one.
Yeah, Raised Dead, there's the 3 1/3s in the pool. So it could be quite rough. There's one. Hellfire Warder, I didn't even know the name of it. Now I do.
Well, because it dies to a Hellfire, TJ.
Ah, yeah, true. Didn't even think of that.
12, 16, 19. What is happening? This is supposed to be a slow matchup. This is turn 6, and Eddie's setting up a 3-turn lethal.
Well, I mean, you say 3-turn lethal, but he also can't ignore the minions on the other side of the board, and it's just weapon swings that he has to follow this up. I suppose Shield Maiden. It's possible that he can, go for some aggression, but...
Okay, so there's Runthok. Runthok can go into the Onage Maze Scribe. He can swing, because he wants to kill off his own board to ensure that Hysteria doesn't completely wreck him, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of Runthok immediately, and then swing with the Outrider's Axe, and then all you have is a 1/3 Warden remaining, which you're not really sweating about. Let's do that, and see what he pick up.
Scorpion, okay. So Venomous Scorpion, he's looking for like greedy stuff, right? He's looking for war cash. Looking for things that put more things in his hand. He's got so much removal in the deck, right? Already.
Is this Magtheridon still gonna live? What?
Yes.
There's no way. TJ.
Wait. Okay. Okay. Luna's not dead because she can go for Flash Heal, Desperate Prayer.
Yeah. But the point is, this Magtheridon is getting a lot done.
Not a toy.
Right? He knows about like the heal. It's like, okay, fine. I know you're healing. I know you have a lot of heal. Oh wow, that's not useful.
Still not removal.
Why?
It's still not removal. That's insane.
We just go back to the same board as we saw previously, where Magtheridon survives.
Oh, and run that gets to attack again.
Yes. And okay, so coerce. Now we can isolate. Okay, what's the play? So you attack Runthok and then coerce, and you just go face, and that's it? Like, you don't want to actually set up more minions for Hysteria, right? Like, Venomous Scorpion here would be a disaster.
Yeah, I think it is just face, re-equip axe, coerce.
I'm thinking about... Yeah, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about whether you want to even isolate Magtheridon.
Oh, really?
Because then we get to the situation where discounted spells with like a 3-mana Hysteria. Oh, but the Draconis Phase really was exhausted about it. Because I don't want Magtheridon to get challenged at all, even by 8 total power on the board. I'm down, though. I mean, I'm down to use coerce here and push. All right. Maximum aggression. What is this?
Wow. Magtheridon's attacked twice versus Priest. Raised Dead is not an answer.
She can't do anything.
Okay.
This is terrible. Okay. Condemn does 2. Samuro. Not enough.
Psyche Split, Hysteria. Psyche Split the
Yeah.
It's still not a guaranteed clear, though, because the Magtheridon could just kill her Runthak, and then they would still both be alive. But it's like it's a 50-50 at that point. Because it'd go up to 4 attack. So it'd be exact. It has to be. I think it's got to be Psyche Split Hysteria. I don't see any other way.
Yes, I see that as well. And I know, and this is a possibility that Magtheridon actually collides. Oh, clearing off the board, big. I mean, look how much work got done, right, by this. Luna's even attempted the Desperate Prayer to just stay alive.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's like the end of Eddie's aggression, right? Like, he's got weapon swings. But a lot of that's negated.
It's a good attempt.
It was a great attempt.
It almost got there. I think, if Luna actually didn't have all those flash heals, right? If she whiffed a little bit more, like she did whiff on some of the spells, but got ultimately what she needed to barely survive. This was like the very utmost limit, though, right? If it went any further, this would have been too much for Luna. She just would have died. She may have turned the corner, but she's not out of the woods just yet.
I wonder.
War Cash. It's got to be War Cash.
Oh,
Yep. That's what you want. That's what you want.
Yeah. Shield Maiden.
No, Dan, I'm pretty sure Gorehowl is still in Standard.
It is. It is. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten Gorehowl off of the War Cache. But the problem is that I was in situations where it was unplayable. because I had so many weapon swings, and I was playing more, traditional control warrior style, not tempo warrior the way he's transforming the vision of his deck. Now Luna has Hysteria for a clear, can heal herself, and then play Flesh Giant. I mean, that second Hysteria is so huge. Eddie was hoping to get it done.
Yep, I'm gonna be. You said Flesh Giant.
See what's in the
All right,
cash.
see what's in the cash.
Is he going to go for the cash? Right now he's hesitating. He's looking at Heart of Cthulhu, Rancor as a way to clear and guarantee this 8/8 so there's no Apotheosis. I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Or Minefield.
Could've
Minefield's actually better. Yep.
Yeah, still could have war cashed and then minefielded and taken a draw from the Outrider tax and taken 8. But I think Eddie really wants to dump the Cthulhu pieces as they come in hand.
Right.
Try and make sure that Mind Render Lucia is not a possible throw from his end.
Yeah, that makes sense to me because he needs to figure out a way to win this game as it goes longer, because it's not like Luna was the only one dumping resources. Eddie has not been drawing cards with his Outrider's Axe for several turns now. So, both players have definitely exhausted a lot of resources that they normally have access to at this point in the game. And now Luna is starting to really climb out of that deficit. She's in a pretty good spot, especially with those 2 Ysseras. If she can go that distance, it'll be big chillin'.
There is some merit to dumping the Condemn. Okay, Focus Will is better to dump. She wants to make room for hand space for your Sarah. So, all right, War Cash, looking for big money.
Another actually it's not another Outrider's Axe, I apologize. It is the hammer. So instead, Eddie finds a couple of awkward cards. I do wonder if commencement is any good here.
Well, it's good with the weapon.
Okay,
Ceremonial
true.
Maul. Because it summons 2 minions, right? Because you get the Ceremonial Maul, and then you commencement, which summons a minion from your deck, and then the minion from the Ceremonial Maul's spell burst.
True.
So, and it could be Kargath Prime, which would be a lot of stats, some armor gain for Eddie, which could matter if this game goes towards fatigue. So. Or Barav, not bad as well. It's just another piece of removal again towards that fatigue. But this board itself is a little bit more difficult to handle.
What now?
Armor! Lightly used armor.
Man, that's such a bad feeling as a warrior giving armor to the priest, knowing that you were so close to finishing out the game. So now Luna was thinking about the Ysera to play. She would have full hand space to make room for it, can immediately use cards like the Dream and the Nightmare. This is the chance that she's been looking for. And he knows this was inevitably coming here. Maybe... You want to use Dream on one of these armor vendors? It gives you life.
Yeah, I don't think the armor vendor really makes much of a difference.
A shield slam kills off the Ysera.
Okay. Eddie also has Lord Barav plus Rancor at any point to blow up a board.
True.
Which is a great combo. It's just so hard to figure out when to pull the trigger on so many of these things, because you don't want to be too liberal with your removal. You want to make sure that you're getting the maximum value out of each and every card, because you're pretty much just outside of a few cases like the Venomous Scorpion discovering War Cache, you're operating with less total cards than previous because they have all these discover mechanics and things that put stuff back in their hand.
Right.
Sarah, Renew, Palm Reading, Raise Dead, Onyx Mage Scribe, and potentially even more of those. Okay.
Clean. Very clean. Forgot about the Death Rattle immediately. That triggers afterwards to get the activation for the Outrider's Axe to draw a card. Finds Maw of Cthulhu, which is great for the inevitable use of things like the Flesh Giant. Luna casually going up to 25 life, including 11 armor. Funny enough, if she found a way to Mind Render, Lucia has access to use of cards like Shield Slam moving forward. Very funny.
Mm-hmm.
That Devouring Plague means that Flesh Giant is now free. That's 3. Wow, what kind of board do you want to set up afterward? Do you want to kind of threaten the warrior? You also have a second Ysera, so pushing out resources. You don't want to go. I don't think you want to go full all out like Flesh Giant, Emerald Drake, Laughing Sister all combined in one turn. But you could, and the justification is that you have Raised Dead and Ysera, so like you force out things like Brawl, and then eventually Eddie will falter. So there's one line of taking it very aggressive. There's another line of taking it kind of middling and seeing what warrior can do and try to out-resource them over time. And then there's the ideology that you can just play one thing. Like, well, it's a clear board. A single 8/8 is hard for them to deal with. Let's see what Eddie does to respond to this. So there's 3 levels of aggression available here for Luna.
Also has a Raised Dead in the back pocket as well.
Mm-hmm.
It is a little clogged up by the warders, but she has a lot of other high-value stuff still left remaining. So I imagine this is going to be Maul 100%. Want to dump Cthulhu pieces as quick as you can just to make sure. And just keep a clear board. Again, one thing to note, though, is Eddie does have a couple of dead draws in the deck, right? The 2 Corsair caches do absolutely nothing.
Oh, my. Sorry, I just commented the fact that
Is a third Ysera? Like, is that like even necessary? Oh, jeez.
Yes. I actually think it might be, TJ, because we could get to a state where Eddie and Luna are deadlocked in fatigue, and the life difference is huge, meaning that additional threats is going to be relevant, because then Eddie's no longer going to run away with fatigue wars.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it could be relevant. Stage dive. Do we still have Kargath Prime in the deck?
There's Kargath Prime in the deck. Does cut off the commencement value, right? But I think that's okay.
Right. Well, 10-10.
Yeah, a tough minion to deal with. The Ysera Awakens will deal with it. That's the cleanest way. But if that's the case, Luna doesn't really have a great turn of development behind it. It would be Ysera Awakens and then Laughing Sister, and that's it.
Right. Samro and Nightmare are a really good combination, so I think Luna wants to save that, particularly with the Apotheosis in the late game snare to help give her the fatigue advantage. I do feel like a lot of priests have this, feeling like they need to do something pretty dramatic right at this stage of the game. They're like, I cleared the board if I'm not playing like a big thing. I'm falling behind. It's like, you're totally okay just passing, right? That's part of what makes it so frustrating to go against Priest. Dark Moon Rabbit.
Yeah, Dark Moon Rabbit, good. It's just more removal to get yourself to the late game. And then Kargath Blade Fist is also quite good, just, because of it delays fatigue even more. You get more armor gain, another big minion.
I wonder.
I kind of feel like from Luna's perspective, I'm just down to play like Condemn and just dump the hand. But part of the problem is that if she doesn't play Ysera this turn, then she's just going to constantly run into hand space issues. She's going to play right now. And then
she can condemn after. Yeah. just to open up a hand space for a card in your deck.
Yep. Makes a lot of sense to me. Still haven't found a way to collect a swing off of this ceremonial maul quite yet.
Oh, wow, okay.
Easy peasy removal.
Yep.
Most importantly, you know, Luna doesn't have the Emerald Drake because that is the final card that comes into the hand that you have to make space for. Cards like Laughing Sister aren't that good with Priest when you can't interact with it. I'm wondering if Luna in her mind feels like Sethic Veilweaver is less important because there's that third Ysera going on. There's also this weird world where Luna's going to be stuck holding combo pieces with like 2 nightmares, 3 nightmares, a dream. Like Eddie, I think, might be going for a situation where he's giving Luna less playable things to do, or less things to do with her cards, right? Dream has no target. Nightmare has no target.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough situation to navigate because she does have a lot of these kind of reactive / defensive cards. Blademaster Samurai it is, but this is not really enough to pressure Eddie into using removal.
It's not, although maybe Eddie feels more comfortable drawing into this deck. He finally has a way to activate the last draw effect of the Outrider's Axe in the form of Bladestorm. That's one thing that I see. The Commencement and Ceremonial Maul become less valuable as each turn passes. Another thing, but maybe Eddie's okay with that. Maybe he doesn't want Commencement to pull out a minion because he's anticipating this to go Fatigue. And if you look at the way the cards are working, it's 10 and 10. So maybe Eddie doesn't even want to draw too much into Fatigue.
I don't think he does. He's most likely going to have a life lead once Fatigue hits, but with how it's going to work once you get to that stage, that life lead diminishes quickly, even being 1 card behind. So it's just an Armor. There's only 4 power on board.
Power in trinkets!
Yeah, and from here, Luna's not going to skip a beat. Hey, these are hard cards to use. Gift of Luminance. I mean, this is a punish for leaving the board but it's okay because Eddie has one thing in spades, which is life, right? He's okay taking this damage because he has life to give. What he can't get back is the use of his removal. So this makes sense to me. And Luna just getting the ability to potentially find all of the big resources that Priest needs to win the late game. More resource generation, Draconic Studies, and Palm Reading. That Draconic Studies finds a Onyx Mage Scribe. I mean, I'm pretty sure Luna's going to clear that final hurdle. Deathwing or Crimson Hothead. I think Nozdormu is okay. I guess Nozdormu is still an 8/8.
Yeah, Deathwing has no flexibility, right? You're not going to play it up until the very end of the game, and at that point there's no minions to even kill, usually. So this is still not that much power on board, and Luna's hand is full, so having double Sethic on board is not that big of a deal, because the Blademaster Samurai will die. So still not like a scenario that Eddie has to overreact to. He could be worried about the value of the Sethics, but again, like I said, the hand space will become an issue. Luna needs hand cards to dump in order to make use for it, but he's going to pull the trigger, right? There's a big win here if Samurai is the one that survives, because that's going to die anyway. Okay, Laughing Sister gets rid of the Sethic value. I think this is overall not too bad of a brawl. Renew. Oh my goodness. Just so much stuff.
Yeah. This is a lot of stuff to handle. I mean, Priest at this point doesn't play with 30 cards in their deck. They play with 2 Hearthstone decks versus 1. It's another 30 card deck. You just can't see it.
Okay.
Psyche Split, Gift of Lunance, Shadow or Death. All of them are reasonable. I like the deck just to get the tempo.
Yep.
Power in trinkets.
Be able to go off with the Sethic again, discover more stuff. Priest
Dead. I mean, health is really not an issue at all for Priest right now.
Yeah. And she can dump the Desperate Purr at the end.
Warrior goes down to 56 life.
Oh, he's really hurting.
Yeah.
Dead even in fatigue. Eddie still has the dead Corsair caches in deck. His deck is that plus the 2 remaining Cthulhu pieces, which is Eye of Cthulhu and Body of Cthulhu, I believe.
What now?
Yeah, in Eddie's camp, you're still wondering how he can squeeze out additional value. This is a very tough puzzle to solve. How do you find a way to win that isn't just straight up trying to pressure your opponent, knowing that you're going to get outvalued? Priest, if you just even count up the amount of cards remaining, right? Priest has the 9 cards in hand plus the 8. Eddie has the 7 plus the 8 in his deck, but we know that 2 of them are dead. It's a bad spot to be in. No matter how you slice this.
All right, the ceremonial maw. So he's got Lord Barov and Venomous Scorpid as the 2 minions left in his deck for commencement. Not the best, but it'll summon a 7/7.
Yeah, I think at this point the commencement is probably the only thing that Eddie can truly consider
What now?
to capitalize off the Ceremonial Maul spell burst. I'm thinking if there's another minion that he's considering, but kind of knows that there's going to be a lot of removal options, right? Like more than half. Actually, I believe outside of the Hysteria, everything has been a randomly generated card here for Luna. Oh, it's not really random. Ysera gives you the same consistent Dream Portal cards every single time.
Yeah.
I must choose.
Who's got 2 of the cards narrowed down in Luna's hand?
In his mind, he has life to give. He could just pass. See if Luna would extend more into the board because she's holding 10 cards. Oh, spell burst just for a 1/1. But knows that the possibility of that. Okay. We're still at the point where Cthulhu could be something to think about.
It's going to have to be in fatigue, right?
Right.
Because right now, especially with Luna's ability to keep generating boards, out of Yashraj, Izarella, Mind Render, Venomous Scorpid. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely Cruella in game number 1. You know, kind of making up for, I guess, the other games that we saw today. Brawl number 2?
Yeah, that'll be the third Brawl. Bladestorm also. That's tough because Brawl can deal with multiple minions. Bladestorm deals with a single big minion. I think a single big minion is more threatening. It's more likely because Luna has a lot of spell generation and not a lot of minion generation left. So obviously those spells could be minions in the form of more Raised Deads, which she still has one of, Draconic Studies.
Ysera.
But Ysera. But at least it deals with the Ysera. And he also, again, still has a Lord Barav in the deck. Last 5 cards are double Corsair Cash, completely dead. Lord Barav, which is a board blow up in combination with Rancor, and then the last 2 Cthulhu pieces.
Oh man, another honest Mace Scribe. But the Hellfire Warden is not great, so I guess unlucky.
Unlucky. Wow, what a terrible Raised Dead.
Yeah. So strategically from here, what you're looking from Luna's perspective is what can you dump and get away with without feeling like you're compromising anything? Hysteria. Oh, interesting. Losing the Zyrella and then playing the Hellfire Ward. I mean, she still needs hand space, right? Because she has Onyx Mace Scribe and the Ysera. And so with those 2 cards still in hand, she has to find ways to ensure that it's not just going to go to waste if she activates those cards. Also, I'm starting to realize that as great as these spells have been, Luna doesn't actually have a threat to Eddie's life total. So this is actually concerning on a macro level, which is in a few turns from now, in about 20 minutes, Luna is going to finally draw the last card of her deck. And it is going to be extremely difficult for her to find a way to pressure the life total of Warrior outside of what she has in front of her hand. And then you factor into the idea that Mindrender Lucia can't swap and find the Cthulhu pieces, because the way Eddie has narrowed down his hand is the moment he gets the Cthulhu piece, he'll play it. And the moment he finds Cthulhu, he'll play it. And you can't swap decks and draw cards to get there because Cthulhu costs 10. So this is a really interesting scenario here in the late game. I think is quite unique.
What?
Those are ways to generate threats.
That's massive.
Exactly what I said. Yes, that's huge. He does not find a Cthulhu piece, one of the 2 Corsair Cash that is very weak in this position. Pass. So I don't even have any minions left in her deck.
Yeah, she has Mindrender and that Venomous Scorpion right there. So still has Mindrender left. And, I mean, that'll give Eddie some knowledge, right? Last 3 cards for Luna are Mindrender, Lucia, Devouring Plague, and Apotheosis.
Yeah, that.
Share your thoughts with the class.
Boom.
Now.
Mindrender. Is worth noting that Mindrender dying also adds to the pool. These items of Yashiraj. Oh, okay.
This would be the last turn for commencement to get, potentially the last turn for commencement to get value.
I wonder.
You can clear this off with a Bladestorm. Use your own life. Could use Brawl and Bladestorm. Can Bladestorm and Rancor. All of these feel a little suboptimal to me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't want to donate life if you don't have to, because we might get to a stage where the fatigue does matter. But will it though, right? Like, part of the issue is that Eddie doesn't know the generated spells, so if there is Apotheosis, then going for a Cthulhu, hoping the last tick of fatigue is going to get there, might be risky. Oh, I love this actually. Using the Bulwark of Azeroth. It does use the durability, which is kind of annoying. So you don't take the damage and you get the attack, so you lose 2. But when you go into fatigue state, the Bulwark's not going to be as important. Oh my, what an unusual situation once more. Grandmaster Scorpion into?
Well, the bull. Once you get to fatigue, the bulwark actually can be quite good. Because once you start to get to heavy levels of fatigue, bulwark blocks the fatigue damage. So you could time bulwark to where you wait until heavy fatigue, play the bulwark, negate an amount of fatigue damage, and use it that way.
I wonder.
Yeah, this is a spot for Luna's perspective where she might have to either pass or dump some things that are suboptimal that might be crucial later, right? She wants to get value off the heal. She wants to get value off the lifesteal. Wants to get value off of all the stuff. She passes. I have Cthulhu.
At a full hand.
It's time, TJ.
Time.
Venomous Scorpid ends up surviving. Does Eddie have to use Rancor here? That would be quite annoying. Oh my goodness gracious. Apotheosis gets burned. Luna, if Luna lost Mindrender or Lucia, I don't even think that would matter. What do you want to steal from Eddie's hand that is even good? Nothing. So actually Mindrender is completely useless in this situation. Like, what do you do? Mindrender Brawl? No. Mindrender Rancor? No.
No, Mindrender.
But you know what Mindrender does do? It gives your opponent Ysera Awakens, Apotheosis, and all this other stuff. I completely understand the hesitation on both ends because these situations feel like you've spent an hour and change. I believe we're almost at the 1 hour mark of this game to get to this phase. Believe it or not, once upon a time, we thought this game was going to end at turn 7. And to get this far and then to die because you weren't careful about mapping things out in what feels like a solvable situation because you know that your opponent's about to draw the last cards of each other's decks would be infuriating for the players. Ysera for minimal value. This is Ysera number 3. And what does Luna get? She gets a Nightmare?
I'm almost out of cards.
Okay,
so the Ysera is to prevent the possible lethal, right?
Yeah. And from Eddie's perspective, because you have no idea what some of these generated spells in hand are, I don't think right now is the time to go for Cthulhu because that damage could just be healed up. His last card is Lord Barav, which is in combination with Rancor, will blow up any board no matter what. Unless, of course, there's Death Rattles, which, from his perspective, there's probably not much more, and Ysera didn't even get any minions back.
The way I see it currently is that Eddie knows exactly what's happening outside of the randomly generated spells. He knows he should know there's a Nightmare. He should know that there's still a Dream and a Ysera Awakens. He should know that there's a Hysteria. He should see that this Mindrender gets burned. Again, Mindrender not important for this matchup. Luna would be giving Eddie resources to play. What's the last card in Eddie's deck?
Lord Barav.
Oh man, I think Eddie's done it.
It depends on the Raise Dead. That's it.
True. But I think I've arrived to the same conclusion that you have a few turns ago now. Where it's like I'm having a difficult time seeing how Eddie loses because Eddie can just pass again. He's at 58 life, now 60, right?
Yep. He's just going to wait till he has like this guaranteed lethal or guaranteed 2-turn lethal.
Because, yeah, if Luna ends up taking the Raise Dead and then playing cards and healing up to 30, if she doesn't find enough health, man, the one thing I do see is like there's this Apotheosis swing. Healing herself pass. And then Eddie, hero power passes. How many turns is this? Are we going to get to, though?
I don't know. I wish I had some sort of calculator.
So Luna does 5 on top of everything else. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is 21 damage. 17 is 28.
She has
Plus-
Nightmare, Apotheosis as burst, and then Renew could find something. Raised Dead could find.
It's 5 turns. 5 turns from now is the max I think Eddie can go at this current pace. So he's going to pass. I think he should pass another time because this is turn 3 or turn 2 of the fatigue. But if you're adding 5 on top of every single turn, so he's taking 5 plus 1, 5 plus 2, 5 plus 3. In about 5 turns, he's going to be at the point where he can't take any more. So he has to go for it. At that point, Luna will be taking her 5th point of fatigue herself, or 6, because she was 1 card deeper. She goes to 24, and then she could raise dead, play stuff, heal up to 27, I think, because of Renew. And then 29 because of healing as well. And then Eddie would have to find a way to lethal for Cthulhu plus the fatigue. So that'd be 30 damage plus the 7th take, so 37. So from what I count right now, assuming Eddie goes with the pass for another 2 turns plan, is that the magic number would be 37. That's my guesstimation right now, DJ.
If he was just going to pass 3 turns no matter what, though, why wouldn't he have just Lord Barov Rancor right away?
Because if he plays Lord Barov and Rancor, then he's back in the same spot and then he can't rely on Brawl. Actually, I kind of wonder if Eddie wants to Brawl next turn.
Well, then why wouldn't he have brawled this turn?
I wonder.
The Brawl this turn means that Luna could play another set of minions the following turn, then he has to Barov, and he's not ready for the Cthulhu because the damage wouldn't be ready the following turn. The moment he starts committing his removal is the moment where he has to start. Oh, wait! Sorry, let me finish that thought. So the moment he starts committing his removal is the moment that Luna can start pressuring, and then he has to set up the Cthulhu correctly, otherwise he might just like die and not finish her off because he needs the fatigue to catch up. I forgot that Eddie's going to be hero powering every single turn, so that actually negates it. It actually pushes back that clock by a little bit because the warrior hero power almost offsets fatigue by 2 turns.
What?
Yeah. So the biggest thing here though is when both players are passing like this and Luna's not pressuring and Eddie's not removing. When you're in a fatigue state like this, somebody's doing it incorrectly. When they're both doing the exact same thing and thinking that they're going to win, one person is wrong. So that's why I'm kind of thinking like Eddie had to have really done the math to not just have pulled the trigger on Lord Barov Rancor as soon as Ysera and Venomous Scorpion hit the board. There's no guarantee that Luna even has minions to generate. He saw that she didn't get any value from Ysera as far as minions concerned. Only got Nightmare. It comes back in the same order every time. No, and everything else is just generated spells. So there's no guarantee that there's even any minions to be gained. And if that was the case, then he would have just pulled the trigger on Lord Barov Rancor. If he thinks that he's the one that's winning fatigue, if he's actually mathed it out, then this is correct. If he hasn't mathed it out, then if he hasn't mapped it out and it's just going by feeling, then he should have just Lord Barov Rancor, I think. Unless he thinks that the potential power from Luna's hand is more than 5. Which, how? What world would it be more than 5? Raised Dead? What could Raised Dead get back that would give Luna more than 5 power? It can't be Idol of Yashraj because that's not even in the deck. Or there's nothing. So, I'm not sure about this one. Because, again, somebody's doing it incorrectly.
Well, I like this from Luna, trying to see what she can get. She gets a Flesh Giant and Ysera.
Okay.
What? Well, that changes everything.
That's insane.
I like the added pressure too. Now I think if you're Eddie, this is a turn where you can consider brawl. What else are you supposed to do from Eddie's position? If you go for the Lord Barov and the Rancor, and Luna knows about the possibility of the last brawl, then she just takes a minion and you have no way to remove at that point.
Do you brawl and take the 50-50?
I think that's the best chance of brawl being effective, because otherwise Luna is just taking damage here. Or sorry, Luna's just pushing damage, and Eddie's just taking too much pressure because of everything that you mentioned. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Now she has to commit more. The very good news for Luna is that she has some very good things that came off of the raised dead.
Draconic studies. Oh my gosh. All right, Eddie's dead.
I think
Right wing.
Yeah, I think it's too much.
It's another minion. It's just more minions.
Well, there is this outside possibility that Cthulhu just goes face for 30. It's very, very unlikely.
Do not confine yourself to linear thinking.
But it's possible. Flesh Giant here would simply be to try and force Eddie to use the Lord Barov right now, right?
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure if you Flesh Giant, you're also supposed to dump Nightmare.
So you can get maximum Ysera.
Yeah. And also, I think, or dump one or the other, right? Like, I think the Nightmare is to block Cthulhu being able to come down next turn. Because if Luna doesn't play Nightmare here, Cthulhu will deal, like 16 points, 16 damage to face, and then Luna takes another tick of fatigue damage, which I think at that point would be 7. And then she wouldn't be able to play Ysera because she would die to the fatigue hit the following turn. So she would have to like Devouring Plague, and then she'd be taking 2 more ticks of fatigue. She'd need a whole nother turn for Ysera to set up. So I think that she had to either play Nightmare or Flesh Giant there to take less damage from Cthulhu if Eddie were to play it that turn. And so then she can layer the threats. If things get removed this turn, then she could play Flesh Giant Ysera the following turn. Yeah, this is good. Because this would have been the least amount of power that she would, or the least amount of health that she would have on board for any turn in the future. If she didn't play Nightmare, which would have been the opening for Eddie to play Cthulhu. At least from her perspective. From Eddie's perspective, he doesn't even know what kind of power is coming left. Oh man, another 8.
Okay, so Luna has to extend onto the board here because then she dies to the Cthulhu.
Yes. And it's probably Ysera because it's expensive. Then
Right.
if Cthulhu does come down, the removal will come down. This is tough. Maybe it is Flesh Giant because that's the least amount of health that she can extend onto the board with. That gets removed by Lord Barov plus Rancor. Yeah, because Cthulhu would be lethal here. Cthulhu would deal 22, and then she would take 7 fatigue. Oh no, so it'd be 1 off.
Unless it's 1 off for the guarantee, but it comes down to 50-50 at that point.
It's not a 50-50. I mean, it's a 50-50. It's 30 coin flips. It would have to be a lot of losses of 50-50s in order for that to happen.
Sure. All right. But Eddie knows. It's like, okay, Lord Baroff, Rancor. That armor, by the way.
Do try to keep yourselves alive.
I wonder how relevant that is. I don't know if it's going to be the difference maker, because it might give Eddie that extra turn, because he's now taking 7 next turn. 7, 8, 9. It's 24. He will be able to out-armor that. And then Ysera, I mean...
No, that's, she has to nightmare the Ysera to stay alive. She takes 8 fatigue.
Yeah, but then there's a Cthulhu the minion.
Yeah, I know, but right now she's dead to Cthulhu on board. If she yeah, that's game.
Oh. And yeah, Cthulhu's now going for it. I mean, there's the fatigue damage. Eddie has done it.
What in the world was that game?
I mean, that was really, really impressive on both sides. And I think like one of these things where I'm sure there's going to be a Twitter thread from a really dedicated math expert that's going to talk about which player misplayed at that situation. But the fact remains that Eddie was able to find a situation to win with Cthulhu Control Warrior in a spot that was incredibly difficult to map out. And once more, the story that Eddie just finds a way in the toughest spots, it continues, right? This guy is really good at mapping out those situations. Very easy for the onlookers to have perfect information, but we went so deep. And it feels like from Luna's perspective, there was something that could have been done, but, you know, like it's something that once that she had committed to a line, TJ, it couldn't really take back.
Yeah, that's it, right? It's so awkward because when you get to that level of fatigue, you have to map out multiple turns into the future. If she wasn't playing minions, she would die to... If she wasn't putting enough health on board, she was going to die to Cthulhu plus the fatigue damage. And... but then at the end, like... How? Yeah, I mean, yeah, losing a 50-50 brawl is tough as well, right? Because that would have been the difference maker, that amount of health being left on board, that amount of damage being left on board. And the awkward part as well is just not having enough hand space also towards the end of the game to get like additional minions back from Ysera. Like being able to look at the Raised Dead, play the Ysera first, and then have more minions to spread out the health because she would have had more hand space. So just an insane game. And I mean, I don't even know... yeah, it would take some crazy math to try and figure out if either player was in the wrong. Like if Eddie even had better lines to win more or win faster, or if Luna had lines at the end to try and give her a better chance in the face of Cthulhu. Just a very difficult game. But now we have to move on to game 2. Can't stay on that one forever. And Luna's going to go with the Weapon Rogue. And again, a tough matchup. And one of the reasons why it's a tough matchup is because weirdly enough, Eddie does play double Corsair Cache, which having extra durability on Bulwark of Azeroth in this matchup is huge. Just being able to pick up Bulwark of Azeroth in general in this matchup is huge. Plays double Shield Maiden. The only thing that, you know, might be a detriment to Eddie is he does have Cthulhu, which the Cthulhu pieces themselves are not that efficient against Weapon. They're not playing minions. 6/6 taunt, sure, maybe that's the best one, but that's your entire turn. You're not getting life. You're not doing anything else. So it's weird. Luna really just wants to get a Swinetoe Shank online early, and Eddie just wants to control the state of the board and have a timely Bulwark of Azeroth, and that's it. Like all the in-between stuff kind of doesn't matter as much outside of those two cards.
All right, well, let's get at it. A much faster-paced matchup that shouldn't really go nearly as long as the Warrior versus that Weapon Rogue. Liking the opening hand here from Eddie. Finds a Corsair Cache as well. I mean, that's going to be tough for Luna to be able to chop through, but without that weapon destruction like we talked about in the priest deck, maybe Luna has a chance. All right, so from Luna's perspective, how does she best maximize her speed? Is it going to be pointing out a swindle here to try and get things going? Maybe find Wand Maker, keep just keep your curve pretty smooth. I feel like passing and playing into this pace of Warrior is an easy way for you to fall too far behind. Funny enough, Eddie has a curve. He's got the turn 1 Athletic Studies, turn 2 Corsair Cash, the turn 3 available in a couple different ways depending on what Eddie draws, but also as a rusher. And Outrider's Axe, it's potentially like this kind of curve that can just end up really nasty. Look at that. Venomous Scorpion picked up. Okay, now Eddie's immediately thinking, is there anything that should stop me from playing Corsair Cash this turn? Is it hero power instead?
I feel like he's going to have plenty of mana to be able to play Corsair Cash by the time he needs it. The only argument like for it is if you pick up the Bulwark of Azzinoth before you have a chance to play it. But I mean, it's just as likely that he picks up Outrider's Axe, in which case it's even more of a benefit to wait for to play Corsair Cash. I think maximum life gain is certainly worthwhile in this matchup, considering there's going to be so many turns in the mid game where he's going to have mana to play Corsair Cash.
Makes sense to me.
Oh, okay. Well, there's the punish. Misses out on a durability from potential durability from Bulwark of Azzinoth.
Right. Could have drawn the other Outrider's Axe, for example, but I like this stance from Eddie, just understanding that like while he has the curve, he doesn't have to play it, and it makes sense. Then it finds a weapon, self-sharpening sword. Not the ideal weapon to get things going with the poisons. Okay, we take those right now. Deadly Poison. I mean, that's one way to start getting things going, and the cutting class can start churning out the card draw. Okay, cutting class before the attack. And if there is something that changes, okay, get the Paralytic Poison going as well. Makes sense to me, and then just increase the power. I think a lot of people get obsessed over like the increasing durability over the Shank. But I think this is a good call from Luna. Saving the cutting class, can hold it as a combo enabler.
Or if she picks up Mankrik, no reason to play it on that turn. Yeah, the one thing about self-sharpening sword though is you will run out of damage at some point. You don't want to go too deep into the self-sharpening sword, because then you'll run out of poisons for the Swine-Tusk Shanks once you get there. But I don't think that's too big of a deal for the time being.
Yep, it makes sense to me. Two cards played, so Prize Plunderer can get the kill if Luna, say, plays Sinister Strike.
Sinister Strikes are a very valuable tool, though you have to really think if you want to play it, because Bulwark of Azzinoth will likely come down at some point, especially since Luna has seen a Corsair Cache. Bulwark of Azzinoth or Sinister Strike is the most efficient way to get rid of durability from the Bulwark of Azzinoth in the late game. You don't want to have to attack in with weapon swings, because you will run out of damage way too quickly.
It's true. It's true. It was just one of these moments where Eddie is just going to pick apart the board anyways, and so you can't really rely upon these small minions to tick away at the Bulwark. And now Luna already in a spot where she has to think about what's the life after like the self-sharpening sword.
Life after self-sharpening sword. Crazy documentary.
That's right. Let's wait to see the live action film of it.
This is brutal. I don't think she can play any more poisons on this weapon. She just won't get there if she does.
Yeah, the poisons are just important to keep that damage going. You still have wand makers to give yourself potential damage on the Swine-Tusk Shank. Then from Eddie's perspective, I mean, he's just hitting up that hero power button. Hero power button is basically like slowly over time accruing weapon destruction, right? It's like, well, I'm just gonna offset the damage you do. Yeah. Okay, that's kind of much damage. 7 plus 4 plus 4 is 15, 18. It's nowhere near close enough.
Nope.
No Silverleaf poison either to really get things going. Oh, that's so brutal. And all she did was barely crack the armor that Eddie set up the previous turn. Corsair Cash? I don't think it has anything else to pull, right?
Nope. Probably just... Doesn't matter. I don't think any of these are relevant. Coerced for Ogra. That's about it.
Yeah.
Shield Flame, you're not guaranteed to have armor. So, and again, hero power every turn. I like that Eddie's just been efficient with the armor gain. And as soon as he sees the Swine Tusk Shank and gets that range where it starts getting bigger, which not even a guarantee that it will at this stage, he can play the Bulwark of Azeroth, block so much potential damage.
Oh, gosh. How many times has this happened as the weapon rogue player? You just feel like no matter what you do, not having the Swine Tusk Shank is just going to make your deck impossible to play. Maker finds Secret Passage. That's huge. There should have a good chance of getting that Swine Tusk Shank online now. Finds another passage. Finds 2 more passages that turns into passages. And a Silverleaf poison.
Okay, I mean, that's something.
Yeah, the question is too late.
Yeah, I think she does have to think about what it means to play the Silverleaf poison with still a secret passage left in the deck. You have to be careful with the second Silverleaf poison because she could deck herself out before she even has enough damage to win the game, right? Not even enough time. Right. Okay, Ogra.
Okay.
Deadly poison.
Deadly poison. Huge. All right, I see it. I see how she does it now. Eddie does have that bulwark. Rancor.
Oh, it's such a tough card to use in this matchup too. Being able to get 10 armor from it.
Oh, it's backbreaking and hero power. Luna knows exactly what's coming up. Oh,
yep.
No.
Oh, it's such a tough card to get value from this matchup. Usually you're using it on like a prize plunder to get, or on your own minions to get like 2-4 armor. Being able to get 10 armor from Rancor against Weapon Rogue is insane. Luna needs like deadly poison, only deadly poison here to have enough damage. Okay, paralytic poison.
Okay, half of one.
Yep.
Gotta get going. It's 30 damage over 5 turns, but as you mentioned, drawing close to fatigue with the Silverleaf poisons. Sinister strikes.
So yep, at this stage, Luna's basically saying by playing these Sinister Strikes that if you have Bulwark of Azeroth, I don't win this game. She's basically saying that I can't wait any longer. I'm going to deck myself out before I'm even able to deal those damage if you have Bulwark of Azeroth, so she just has to try and go in now.
Yeah. Can you blame her? She's almost out of cards. This is like, it's not even really like, does Cloak of Shadow save me anymore? It's like, do I just have enough time? Not to mention that there's this dynamic where Eddie can just push damage, right? He has Eye of Cthulhu, for example, and if Luna's like taking too much damage with weapons, like maybe there's this dynamic where like Luna's like, oh, I'll just play a little bit slower, and then Eddie's like, well, I'm gonna kill you in 2 turns. Eddie thinking like what cards do I have to be mindful of, how much damage does she have over the next few turns, what's remaining in the deck.
I think it's probably Warsong Outrider Bulwark Armor up. Oh wow, okay, pushing damage. Setting up for lethal with Eye?
Yes, this is exactly the point that I was trying to make, which is I think Eddie has an aggressive plan. available to him. And that forces Luna to do something like Cloak of Shadows?
Yep.
I'm almost out of cards.
Right. So the Cloak of Shadows. Wicked Stab is only going to do the most damage right now, but it's kind of what you said. The Bulwark of Azeroth is just going to stop all of that recursive damage over turns. Does she save it instead to get through the charges? What's the last card remaining in her deck?
Secret Passage.
Yikes.
I mean, the weapon and the Wicked Stabs are the same amount of damage.
Right. 6 each.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So now it's like one of these things where Luna's like, okay, I can't kill next turn because my reach is 18. But maybe over the course of 3 turns.
What now?
Swing with another weapon. I don't know. I really don't feel like I think she just ran out of damage. Like Eddie doesn't even necessarily need the Bulwark at this point. I think she just think she doesn't have enough damage. Although the Bulwark's certainly nice.
Yeah, he will need the Bulwark. It's just...
The armor vendor just makes it so that it negates another swing of the weapon, right?
Yeah, true. You're right.
So it's like...
Yeah, actually, no. He may not even need the Bulwark. I have Cthulhu armor... Because there's nothing randomly generated left. This is it.
Yeah.
And Luna will take a point of fatigue damage the next turn. The following swing, she'll take 2 and then 3.
Right. Oh yeah, by the way, Kargath comes to the hand. Not the Kargath Prime. But
There's no minions left anyway, so it has nothing to attack into.
I'm
right.
out of
That's
cards.
true. A swing. And I mean, at this point, the game has been determined. Like, we know that there's no way for Luna to win here. So, in her mind, is there anything... Let's say that Bulwark doesn't exist. What would be the line? It's definitely swing at the face, without a doubt. There's no way you can justify swinging at anything else right now.
And then... Coerce. She can't cloak.
Right?
She would need a whole nother turn.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be mathed out to where it doesn't even matter. Because if she thinks that she needs 2 more turns, then she'll die to fatigue. She takes 1 fatigue this turn. Next turn she'll take 2, then 3, and then the following turn. Like, the best she could hope for at that point would be a tie.
Right. Which would be pretty epic, given how this series started, but it does not seem like there's any series of outs here.
How does it work in Last Hero Standing? Because in best of 5, both players are awarded a win. So they would both stay on the same deck?
Right.
Oh, no, they're awarded a win and a loss. Okay.
So it just advanced the series, right?
They would both have to switch decks? It'd be weird.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yep, there's
GG.
Bulwark. Yep.
And Eddie up 2-0 over the Weapon Rogue. Very brutal game for Luna, not finding her shanks until the bottom few cards of the deck, which puts Eddie on the doorstep of claiming a tournament win. And with that, just has to beat the Rush Warrior. This is not a Control Warrior mirror. Luna's one of the few people left in the top 8 that had a Rush Warrior as opposed to defensive slow Control Warrior. But even if she's able to fade that, she has Control Priest and Control Warlock to face, which aren't easy, I think, to say the least. So, once more, just to recap, the Shelf Sharpening Sword, it's okay. All this aggression, it's okay. But what's not okay is not finding that shank in time. Having 2 Cloak of Shadows in a matchup that doesn't really rush you down and you don't need it, that's just gotta feel really bad as the Weapon Rogue.
Yeah, it was just kind of brutal overall. And I'm sure Luna at the end was thinking, why didn't you just play the Bulwark earlier? If you just showed me it, I would have conceded, right? She had no way to get through the Bulwark damage. And Fatigue would have killed her through that anyway. Brutal ending. But Eddie just kind of min-maxed her. There was no reason for him to play it up until that point. He had mathed it out. There was nothing randomly generated left in Luna's hand. knew the maximum amount of damage that she could do at that point. So 3 tough matchups in a row. It'd be crazy if we ended the final day of last year's standing week with just 3 sweeps. And 3 sweeps with relatively unconventional decks, I suppose, in regards to like the current metagame. Like you'd think sweep, you'd think like priest or mage or miracle rogue, right? Because those have been the 3 powerhouse decks that we've seen in competitive play. But no, it would be with token druid, rush warrior, and control warrior. Those would be the 3 decks that would take sweeps.
I know, it's just like the unusual stuff that you don't expect, and not only that, like there was just a lot of twists and turns. We weren't sure if the warrior was going to just straight up win that game number 1 very quickly, and then brought it all the way back to the fatigue state where it looked like Luna just had too many resources. Nope, turns out the Cthulhu was the exact tech we talked about, giving the flexibility that they needed to win. Then followed by game 2, which looked like it was just a complete one-sided stomp because of the lack of draws on Luna's side that favored her. And then now where we, we're in game number 3, seeing if whether or not Luna can find a way to turn it around. Otherwise, her run stops here, and she will be falling just short of tying No Hands Gamer in points for the overall standings. But still, I mean, she's got it to this point. And I think if there's one thing that I know about every top-level Hearthstone player that's gotten to this point is that they do not give up easily. Never give up. They do not.
And this matchup's winnable. We saw this matchup won from Dreadeye's perspective against Briarthorn on Friday. It was Dreadeye's Rush Warrior versus Briarthorn's Control Warrior. I think Dreadeye played that excellently. Held on to a bunch of resources, and then went for bursts of pressure in the mid game instead of trying to get too far ahead in the early game, right? And it worked out incredibly well. I'm sure Luna's got that on her mind as well. Conditioning is the key card in that type of strategy, where you're just trying to assemble a handful of resources in the early game and then utilizing conditioning to buff those resources up and then just make pushes and make the removal turns awkward. Cards that you need to do that are like bumper cards. Puts more minions in the hand. Dr. Krasnov, yeah, very interesting, because it can be played the turn the Imprisoned Gnar comes out, get more just raw damage.
Yeah, I think these are the cards that Luna has as good building blocks. But moving forward, how does Eddie choose to fight back? Part of what makes Rush Warrior difficult to deal is that there's not actually that many classes that have big, wide, definitive AoE early in the game. Warrior is a class that still has available removal tools like that, with Brawl, Blade Storm, Shield Slam to just like decisively answer a minion as it racks up the armor count.
Eddie agonizing over this decision.
It's tricky. Tent Thrasher is something that immediately caught my mind. I think Eddie might be entertained the idea of Claw Machine, because it does draw him a minion. He doesn't have many minions in this deck. What kind of minion would he want to draw? Like Kargath, for example. And the earlier you get Kargath, makes stage dive even better. Oh, yeah.
It's also the highest attack.
Claw.
Weapon for my master!
I don't think he attacked with the armor vendor. That's what the mistake was. All right, ramping up the damage. Oh, yeah. That's a big old weapon.
Yeah, that's no joke. 6 becomes 12. You just double your damage output. Quick maths. Okay, Corsair Cash. Now we're cooking, TJ. Put my hands together and rub very quickly.
Wow, I heard it.
Eating up. Ass. Oh, yeah. Mmm. Give me that top of the line propane. Good power pass. I mean, that's a great sign for Eddie right now, but also concerning because you're like, is he going for, or is she going for a conditioning power play at this point? Very tricky. Oh, and Eddie does end up drawing the Kargath, which means that there is some really interesting stuff available for Eddie this turn. Do you want to play the Claw Machine and just kind of have it naked on the board, let your opponent trade into it, get that card draw going preemptively? You can also set up the Outrider's Axe. Because in his mind, he needs to take this opportunity while he can to set up.
Maybe it is just Outrider's Axe. Like you mentioned, just taking the time to set up things that are more difficult to use in the hand. Could just play Claw Machine. But dies.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Swing on board, yeah.
I think the Claw Machine is better once Kargath dies. So it makes sense to save it, and then you play Kargath plus the Venomous Scorpion next turn to answer a turn 5. Turn 5 is like a really important moment for the Rush Warrior. A lot of things come online. But it makes sense to me, I think.
Yep.
Oh. That's a good Claw Machine target, though. Like, that's as good as it gets, really. Boom. A Claw.
Oh, that's a big Shield Maiden.
Ooh.
Now that's a 5-drop.
Yeah. I mean, that's really nice. What is concerning is how much damage Eddie is starting to take with all the weapon swings. Okay, the Minefield is very interesting here. Minefield, swing, you can play Venomous Scorpion afterwards.
Yep.
Hero Power, save your ability to Shield Maiden, Hero Power, Shield Slam the following turn. Keep Kargath Blade Fist under your belt. That's one possibility. Oh, Kargath Blade
Or
Fist
just
right here.
Yeah, or Kargath Blade Fist first. It gives you a chance to draw Kargath Palm immediately.
I'm down. Yeah, turn 8, Kargath. Okay, I think Information might actually be the best pick here. Shield of Honor really works if you're trying to go for these big combo turns, but it's hard for the warrior to pull it off with such a lack of rush minions and things of that sort. I don't know how good Whirlwind is when your opponent has played Conditioning already. So
Yeah, it might like somehow set up for better minefields, but yeah, Information. And Information is just random taunt minions, right? It's not like Discover taunts. You can get any taunt. If it's in the game of Hearthstone in Standard, if it has the keyword taunt, you can get it.
True. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's some like really crazy taunt minions that can just give Eddie the win right here. For Luna's perspective, she draws the Ringmaster Watley. Unfortunately, not going to be able to have the conditioning for this hand, but still has a really powerful opportunity for power plays. The Playmaker, the Parade Leader, those are great enablers. I think if she draws Runthok, then she will be able to fight fire with fire here. Wait, what is this? What's going on?
Smug Senior?
Okay.
These are pretty big. It's a 5/7 and a 4/7 once it's corrupted.
Can't sleep on them. I mean, they're just big bodies.
Yeah.
Big body, big plays. I kind of like just dropping it here.
We'll be fine. It wasn't that big.
Oh, yeah. All right. Now we got some plays that we can do here with damage. The ETC is particularly interesting with Playmakers. So my first instinct was to set that up with bumper cars. So Playmaker bumper cars. That's something that stands out to you with the Parade Leader?
Yeah. The timing on ETC is important.
Right. but we know that they're going to be playing top minions. We know Eddie's going to be playing top minions.
Aren't even ready for this.
Yep.
Woo!
This is going to be
Full hand
so
of
many
rushers.
minions. Yeah, it's going to be so many minions for ETC as well. Like, Luna might be doing this because she also gets to push 3 this turn. Eddie has to remove the minions.
Yes.
And then if Eddie doesn't play a minion and just removes, then she could just play Alexstrasza. If he does play minions, she'll probably ETC first to get the value from it.
Take it back. Whirlwind would have been nuts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, information was not bad there. Oh.
Magtheridon Brawl.
No, you can't play Magtheridon because there's you would have to kill a minion.
Oh, there's
first.
no enough board space. Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen that happen.
Magtheridon would read, give your opponent 2 1/3s for 4 mana. That's it. That's the card.
That's it. Shield Slam.
Okay. I suppose.
You're not really racking up armor at this point. I feel like Minefield could be used way better when you know so many Dark Moon Riders are available.
What now?
Bulwark is also something that's going to get quite interesting.
I must choose.
Like, when's the timing for the Bulwark? What's Eddie expecting? At this point, the range is huge. Eddie knows that Alexstrasza's very likely in hand. Has seen 1 Tent Trasher and Ringmaster Watley, so knows that the other Tent Trasher or Alexstrasza is in hand. Whoa!
I wasn't expecting this.
That is 2 charges.
Bulwark. Yeah.
That is 2 charges. He's afraid of Alexstrasza. I think that's what he's afraid of. He's afraid that Alexstrasza will come out and he won't be able to find a way to answer it and then protect it, have time to play Bulwark and protect himself from like ETC or weapon follow-up.
Right.
So for Luna here, I mean, she has like Sword Eater and just attack and 2 weapon swings over next couple turns to get this Bulwark, these Bulwark charges gone away with.
I mean, that's got to be so painful for Eddie. He just gave up 9 damage and up to 3 cards in order to do that.
Oh! And the shield, all the shield slam to go along with it. Oh!
Rev up the chainsaw, TJ. That's exactly what Kargoth's Blade Fists sounds like when he's online and cooking.
Yeah, with a small hint
Right.
of angry Pomeranian thrown in there.
Just put the pork right on the chainsaw. That's right. Meat grinder.
But that's the play, right? It's got to be the play.
I mean, it stands out to us because that's what he just drew. But is there anything better? Like the Shield Maiden Shield Slam? No, it's a little bit off. Not to mention that the Shield Maiden. No, it has to be because then he can Shield Slam the Samuro and not have to worry about the Frenzy, right? That's another thing to consider.
Yeah.
Boom. 10 life.
Okay. Conditioning with Playmaker is good.
Push-up time, TJ.
However, that's a lot of rush minions, or at least a few rush minions that she's going to have to use to clear this Kargath off in a situation where she's going to be hurting for damage.
Yeah, or it can just use Playmaker.
Well, yeah, Playmaker, but then you're playing rush minions, and those are rush minions that then will not be able to be used with ETC in a single turn to try and deal the last bits of damage.
And almost an ironic twist, right? That because these riders are so strong, that it makes like the combos with Playmaker and ETC less readily because Eddie's not only has 1 minion.
I must choose.
So it's kind of funny how that works. But you can't forget the fact that ETC is a 69. That's just hard to deal with.
It is.
She's going for it. Boom. Might as well push the ETC damage a little bit here. Eddie has the Magtheridon. Magtheridon Brawl.
All right.
Now, there's a 12-12 you have to do.
I mean, or a 1-3 could survive, but then it still accomplishes its goal. All right, 1-3 doesn't survive. That's a 12-12.
Oh. Okay, and we have Parade Leader, Trasher, Darkmoon Rider. We can kill this Magtheridon.
But at what cost?
Not pretty. Not pretty.
These old bones just keep moving.
That treasure.
Yeah.
Huge.
This one could be coming to an end pretty soon here. Eddie's still high life total. Luna, no conditionings left, out of ways to just straight up get more resources.
Oh, come on. What? Can we get anything done with this hand? I'm just looking at it and I don't see anything really. Luna could use the 10 Trasher and the sword to kill off Magtheridon because you do get the extra 2 damage from the Parade Leader.
Yeah. And then just hope that Alexstrasza at some point just sticks.
Look, desperate times calls for desperate measures. Oh, can we just talk about how good Magtheridon has been in this deck so far? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, like, sure, in game number 1, it got a lot done, but at the end of the day, it didn't, right? It just served its purpose as another piece of removal. But yes, I get what you mean, Dan. Wait, never mind. I'm gonna change my opinion on it. Magtheridon is sick.
Yeah, Magtheridon's sick. I mean, because we don't know what the game would have looked like if all those resources weren't used.
Yeah.
Maybe Priest can just go a little bit farther and not have to worry about those resources, and then it would have been game over. Slam. Fairground Fool. All right.
Alexstrasza, the venomous Scorpid.
Ah, Scorpid's so annoying here.
Could also Rakara and Warmaw Challenger, the 4/7.
I wonder.
Would that work?
Okay. So 110, it goes to a 1/6 buff to a 2/7, then 2.
It wouldn't work.
Down to a 3.
Wouldn't kill it.
3.
And the cycle of life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh. And with that,
Yep.
Take the hit.
Eddie has the coerce.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
Luna's like, why do you have everything?
I know.
Oh. I mean, that's Control
Because
Warrior.
Eddie's barbecue, and Luna's just a guest.
Okay, run back.
Fuck.
Run back for the run back.
I mean, now the Shield Maiden somehow got buffed to an 8/8. Eddie's also playing hand buff warrior. But
What
yeah,
even
this
buffed that
doesn't
to
look
an
good for
8/8?
Luna. Yeah, he did.
I don't even remember
Now-
what buffed it to an 8/8 at this point.
Wasn't it the claw machine?
Oh, yeah, Claw Machine. You're right. I'd forgotten about the Claw Machine. That felt like so long ago.
The claw. Ooh. Eddie can just wipe this.
Yeah, Stage Trap is a dead card, though.
Oh no. What will Eddie do? I guess he'll just have to clear the board and push for the win. A useless card that he drew off the top of the deck? I guess it was bound to happen eventually.
You're right. How silly am I?
What can she do? She can't do anything. The Warmaw Challenger doesn't even kill any minion on the board, I think.
No. Oh!
Stage dive.
Yeah, just deal 6 damage to this. Cool.
Now stage dive corrupts. What, finds a Murloc? Oh no!
All right.
Cool.
Deal the 5/1.
Sick card. Yeah, it's just, I mean, even if Crabbider was unnerved, right, it wouldn't matter. And so I think from this point, Luna says, okay, if Eddie has absolutely nothing, another Shield Maiden. The Eye of Cthulhu. 40 life.
Yep.
And setting up lethal, actually.
Oh! Oh!
Kargath, but
Kargath?
not even enough attack to stop it.
No, but could draw Kargath Prime off the top.
True. 13 plus 7 is 20.
Wait, is there any? Oh, stage dive. Oh, it's not
scores,
useless.
And that is lethal. Yeah, you made fun of the extra stage dive, but Eddie is going to have to do it. Another 3-0 to wrap up the top 4 of week 5. Well played. Eddie has been consistent throughout all of the seasons of Grandmasters, has made almost every single top 8 except for 1 week across many seasons now. And he is the week 5 champion here at Hearthstone Grandmasters of Americas for season 1 of 2021. Congratulations. Well done. And it was also very hard. While it looked pretty easy towards the very end of the series there, he had some very difficult games and quite possibly the best play of the entire tournament this week. Let's go ahead and recap, TJ, some of the moments of that game.
Yeah, it was a good strategy from Luna trying to assemble resources and utilize conditioning to try and go for pressure and burst, but it really just felt like Eddie's Control Warrior deck had the answer at every turn. For a moment, it looked as if Luna had this cool Alexstrasza plus ETC combo to deal the last bits of damage as Eddie's life total started to dwindle. But Bulwark of Azanoth to force Luna onto a little bit more awkward plays or not go quite as fast as she wanted. And then the Kargath Prime to really solidify the game. And even though, you know, maybe there's a chance at the end, right? If Eddie doesn't have a way to doesn't draw a Coerce there, doesn't have a way to activate it, and then Kargath Prime comes off the top and 2-for-1s these minions, and Luna just sticks one big threat, you know, maybe there's a small chance. But, I mean, that's what Control Warrior does. They make you think for the entire game they have a small chance. And you're staring so deeply into your cards, you're like, I could do this, and then you look up, your deck is empty, your opponent's at 42 life, and you realize that the last 30 minutes have been for nothing. And that's the story of playing against Control Warrior right now.
That's right. It eats at your soul a little bit. It feels like they shield slammed your spirit directly through the video game.